Welcome back to Cooking with Bob's Kitchen. All right, folks, let's have a little chat about this pan right here. I've been around the kitchen for going on 50 years and I've seen my share of pots and pans. But you know this one here? Well, this one taught me more than all the rest. When I was a younger feller, I bought the whole cast iron story. You know, the pan for life, the family heirloom. Gets better every time you use it. It puts a crust on steak that'll make you cry. You know, watching my grandma and my mama use these cherished cast iron, I thought I was all in, but I was struggling. And my scrambled eggs, they turned into a burnt mess. And the cleanup, oh my goodness, that involved way too much scraping, scrubbing. I was always worried about rust. I was just about ready to take this thing and throw it in the back of the cabinet and call it a day. But then, after a little while and 50 years of experience, I came across 4 simple, you know, surprisingly cheap little tools. Changed everything for me. These gadgets didn't just make things easier, they made my cooking a lot better, plain and simple. It helped me get past all that trouble I had in the beginning and made my cast iron the first pan I reached for almost every single day. So you stick with me, I'll show you the 4 tools that perfected my cast iron cooking. And it made cleaning an afterthought and help you keep that slick non-stick surface. We're gonna make that cast iron pan the best friend in your kitchen. First thing on my list is a tool that takes care of the biggest headache with cast iron. Getting all that stuck, stubborn, cooked on food off of it. We've all been there, haven't we? The meal was wonderful, the burgers were just perfect, but now your pan's got all those little bits that seem like they're welded on for good. You always hear folks saying not to use anything too rough because you strip off that good seasoning you worked so hard for. Then this little fella come into my life. Yeah, simple. Stiff hand brush. It might not look like much, but I'll tell you what, it's the perfect tool for the job. And using this little guy, it's as simple as can be. When I'm done cooking, I let the pan cool down just enough so I can touch it, run the hot water. And when you run that hot water in there, a lot of times it just takes care of business. Stuck spots, so I just put a couple drops dish soap in there. That's all you gotta use, just a little bit of dish soap. Modern dish soap doesn't have lye. And just give it a scrub. You have a little stuck on piece. Types of brushes has this little piece here. You can just hit it. My cast iron is well seasoned and there's no issues. Let's do the back side. This is what I think is important about using soap, because if you're frying something that's splattering, you're deep frying in your pan and it rolls down over the edge, that's where you get all that big crusty stuff set up. You don't want that. And with a little bit of soap, it won't hurt anything. It'll take today's recent cooking and all the debris left behind right off that pan. It's been the way to go. I just picked this up at a local supermarket or department store, hanging on a rack. Couple $3 and you got a great tool for cleaning your cast iron. Rinse that baby out good. If you see anything left, just hit her again. That's all you have to do. Get that soap off of there you used. If you got any of them places that's really stuck, just use a little kosher salt. Just put it in there and use that as an abrasive to clean your pan. Now that's if you had cheese or, you know, maybe you're making sausage gravy and the sausage left some burn spots. Just use that salt. It's just a little abrasive to help lift it out of there. And look at that. If you have a hard time with cleanup, this is the first thing you ought to get. It's a game changer. And if you think this tip is helpful, I'd surely appreciate it if you'd go on and hit that subscribe button. We got more to talk about, so stick around. All right, we got all that cleaning figured out. Let's move into the cooking. I got a gadget I like to use for cooking, so let's move on to that. You know, you might already have this tucked away in a drawer somewhere, and if not, they're easy to find. They're available about anywhere. You can get them online. It's the fish spatula, and you don't have to use it just for fish. You can use it for anything. It's basically the only spatula I used in my trusty old cast iron. So here's the problem I used to have. I was using all these kind of spatulas. You know, they don't have any twist or bend to them hardly. And when you got up against the edge in the cast iron skillet, you couldn't get underneath there. It just pushes it around. It sometimes gets under, but most of the time you're just pushing stuff. You know, you put that beautiful egg in a skillet and you're trying to make it nice, and next thing you know, you bust the yolk. If it's a little stuck, you can't get it loose without it being burned or the yolk busted. So the magic of a fish spatula is how it's made. It's pretty flexible, so you get a little bend. And it has this nice little turn right here at the end where you're getting under stuff, and it's got a sharp edge. It has some flex, you can get under stuff. And look at that, you can just serve up these eggs or flip them, and it works out perfect every single time. And a lot of people are scared to use metal on cast iron. You know, a well-seasoned cast iron skillet is a lot tougher than you think. In fact, in over 50 years of using cast iron, I think this actually helps season it. Kind of knocks off them rough surfaces as you go, and you just keep that thing oiled and you're good to go. And I used to kind of shy away from using cast iron on delicate foods, but after this, I don't shy away anymore. I'd get cooking. So go down here in them comments and let me know what you're afraid to cook in your cast iron, and I bet you 9 out of 10 times this one little tool, it'll solve them delicate problems you might have been having. You know, my old way was to wash that pan with my soap, use my stiff brush, clean that baby good, and then I went to dry, and I'd always grab like a towel, paper towel, which is the absolute worst for lint, and I'd always leave lint behind. Then when I'd go to wipe in a new layer of oil in this beautiful cast iron skillet, I'd use paper towels, leave a bunch of little lint pieces behind. You don't want that in your seasoning. So the fix I found a couple years back, probably 4 or 5 years ago, it's really simple. These shop rags. They come in white and blue. The color doesn't matter. But these are lint free. 100% lint free. I've never got any lint. So grab you a box of these. You know, you get that lint in the bottom of this beautiful pan, and it's going to build up. It's going to get all crusty and bumpy. You don't want that. So you just bust yourself out one of these. That's all you need, just one each time. More times than not, these are really absorbent, so I don't even heat my pan up after I wash it. I just use the shop towel, dry it out, grab a second one to apply my oil. So after I get her all dried out, let it sit a little while, just hit it with a couple drops of oil. I've always preferred grapeseed oil. I use it when I do need to season my pans, which I haven't done for 10 years probably. Occasionally I get a friend or two that wants me to recondition their cast iron because they let it go and it got rusty, and I always season with grapeseed oil. It just works the best for me. So the process is real similar to seasoning the cast iron. Just put a couple little drops in there. You don't need a whole lot. That's probably a half a quarter teaspoon, like a little corner of this, like that. Put it in here, rub that oil around, make sure you get it completely covered. And the thing you always want to do with cast iron, you want to do the outside as well. The handle, flip it, do a little bit on the outside edge here, put a little on the bottom if you'd like. Then I usually go back one more time, get some of that. So I have enough to put on the bottom there, and you can see that nice beautiful shininess. One corner that I use to put the oil on, rub it in, and I got this 3/4 of this available to wipe it dry. And I think this is the biggest trick to cast iron. You have to wipe it dry. You don't want a bunch of oil sitting in there because it can get gummy, it can get rancid. You basically want that to be looking like you dried it. Don't forget them handles and the outside. Take most of that oil back off. Look at that beauty. That is one fine looking cast iron skillet. Like I said, it's been decades, decade and a half since I probably had to ever re-season this. And that's it. Simple shop towel. Works every time. You see any lint in there? I don't see any lint in there. Look at that beauty. So I'm kind of curious. What do you use to dry your cast iron and put your oil on? I know people use old t-shirts. I've seen people buy packs of bandanas. I just don't want to deal with all that. These are throwaway. They're pretty reasonably priced. You can just wipe them and you're good to go. So my last gadget isn't used that often in cooking. It's what happens after the cooking. You got a hot pan, and then you got to figure out what to do with it. How do you grab a hot cast iron pot or skillet? I've had them slip on things, and they slip on and slip off. They're always dirty. I can't ever find them, so I don't use those. I can't tell you how many times when this thing came out of the oven, it might be 400 plus degrees, and I'm a little concerned about the old fingers. And I'm like, how am I going to grab this thing? I've used dish towels, I've used mitts, I've used pot holders, I've used all that jazz. I got a better solution. You know, the other problem is I like to serve all my food in the cast iron. A lot of times I just leave it on the stove, but if we're having a dinner party, I'll put down my favorite Gadget and I'll be able to use these. They keep that thermal mass, helps keep all that food nice and warm. It's a good way to serve your food. I don't use hot plates or none of that jazz. I use cast iron. Cast iron will keep your food warm for at least 30-40 minutes without doing a thing. You just set it on the table and it keeps the food warm. You know, the thing is, you're always worried about setting this on your dining room or kitchen table or putting it down here on the countertop. And you know, the last thing you want to do is do damage, crack your countertop, burn your table. So my fourth game changer is a set of these Silicone Trivets. They come in a pack. They got a couple square, a couple round. You can use them how you see fit. They're multi-purpose. Let me show you. So these aren't your grandma's typical fancy old trivets. They're not that. These are way more strong and more durable. The cool part about these modern trivets made out of silicone, they can go to like 450, 500 degrees and you're not going to have a problem. I've never had one melt yet. What makes them so necessary for me is their grip and how steady they are. You put that on a handle, that's not going anywhere. It's not going to slip. You can use two. You can grab the other side with another one, and they aren't going to slip around. They're very sturdy. You can double them, triple them, whatever you need to do. Works out really nice. And the thing I like, they're multi-purpose. They're a pot holder or they're a trivet. You can use them for either or. So you come over here to the serving area, you throw one of these down, you set that cast iron skillet on there, and you're not going to have to worry about anything happening to your countertop or your table. I've used them a million times. I have had countertops that were wood. I've had them that are different types of materials. This happens to be granite. It's not going to leave any marks. They work great. So just having a few of these around, it takes care of that problem of worrying about a super hot pan and how to handle it and what to do with it. I highly recommend them. So there you have it, folks. 4 simple, reliable tools that'll get you past all that fear of using cast iron. This is easy. It really is easy. You just have to learn a couple tips and tricks, and I'm 50 years in, so I know a few things about cast iron. Then you get yourself one of these stiff hand brushes to make cleaning a breeze. Get a fish spatula. Get under that food so you can flip it. Get some of these lint-free shop towels. Great for drying, putting your oil on and taking your oil off, especially when you're seasoning. You want to keep that pan going for generations. These are the trick to keep it lint-free. And get yourself a set of these Silicone Trivets. High temperature, use them to get your pans moved around and a place to serve them on. Work great. You know, 50 years plus cooking, most of them years have been in cast iron because that's what my grandmas and my mommy used. I'm telling you what, it's the only way to go. It's basically the only pan I use. I got a stock pot, big stock pot, make noodles and some big batches of soup. Well, I actually have a giant kettle, cast iron as well, but that's another video at another time. And you know the best thing about these gadgets, you don't have to be an expert. They're self-explanatory. Anybody can use them. And they'll fix your everyday problems so you don't have to give up that cast iron and stick it in the cabinet in the back or out in the garage. With this pan taken care of, I know I can put a steak in there and sear it, which is my favorite way to cook a steak, and I don't have to worry. It's not going to stick. And if I got some of them little bits, I know how to take care of it. And also, eggs, pancakes, all those things that typically people have struggles with, cooking in cast iron, I don't have those issues. You just have to know these tips and tricks. And I think the best part about a beautiful cast iron skillet or pot is just take it straight to the table, set her down, and serve your food in it. So that cast iron dream, it's real. You just need a few simple tools to get the job done. If you found this advice helpful, I'd appreciate you click that subscribe button. I've been at this 50 years. I'm perfecting tips and tricks on how to take care of cast iron and how to make beautiful, delicious recipes that your family and friends will enjoy. I just keep kicking them up a notch and perfecting them. And of course, you can find all these tools that I shared, the 4 different items, probably at any of your department stores or of course online. So just go pick them up. You ought to go check out this video right here about my egg cooking. I did some mistakes and then I did it the right way. Now you know the tips, tricks, the tools you'll need so you can be successful cooking scrambled, fried eggs, omelets in a cast iron skillet. Hey, thanks for watching. Keep on cooking. And if you would, come back for some more videos. I'll try to drop a long video weekly and numerous shorts so I can share my experience with all of you. And I appreciate you watching. Have a great day.